Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be like a kind of a heart-to-heart kind of video. As many of you know, whoever follows me on social media anyway, my husband and I are expecting a baby. And my cousin always asks me like, why don't you film it? Why don't you document your pregnancy and all of this exciting stuff? And to be honest, yes, it's exciting, but it's also nerve-wracking. Like, I can't explain how I feel into words without it sounding kind of messed up. So before I go forward, I kind of have to backtrack in a way where you guys would understand where I'm coming from. So hopefully this helps someone in a similar situation, encourage those who are still trying to conceive. My husband and I wanted to start a family a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And first time I got pregnant, this is not my first pregnancy. First time I got pregnant, I lost my baby at around 5 or 6 weeks. I was a chemical pregnancy because the HCG was so low. I think to be considered pregnant, it needs to be above a 5, and I was a 7. And typically, pregnant women have HCG levels like, I don't know, 90, 100, like at that 4-week mark. So needless to say, we lost that baby and we kept trying. And then I got pregnant again last year in 2014. You know, I try to be optimistic. Once you have a loss, it makes it hard to be excited for your next pregnancy. Well, at least for me it did. It made it harder for me to connect with the baby. It made it harder for me to accept that this is going to be it for me. So with that pregnancy, again, I lost it at around 6 weeks. And in both cases, I started spotting at that five-week mark. So spotting for me is not normal. Even though it says it's very common in the first trimester. For me, it's just not normal. So with the second pregnancy, everything was going fine. I started spotting and called my doctor. He reassured me that everything was okay, you know, just as long as it's not heavy bleeding. And just in my heart, I just felt like something wasn't right. So we went in for early ultrasound. Before then, before I started spotting, we had an early ultrasound just to confirm the pregnancy was there, it was progressing. I believe I had one right before I started spotting. So you couldn't really see much there. There was no heartbeat or anything like that to be expected. And then at that six-week mark, everything was good. Everything was progressing, even though I was spotting. So that made me feel a little better. And then we went in for the 7th week. So yes, I lost the pregnancy at around 7 weeks. 7 weeks we went in and there was no heartbeat. And the week prior there was. So obviously something was wrong. And we had to wait a week to confirm that the pregnancy was not viable. Whew, I didn't think I would start tearing up. After that second loss, of course it was devastating. I was in a place of disbelief. Like, I cannot believe it happened a second time. Yeah, it was just really hard. It was very hard to accept. It was around the holiday time. I remember it was Thanksgiving, and it was that week we found out that the baby's heartbeat stopped maybe 2 or 3 days before Thanksgiving. I didn't tell any of my family members, so nobody knew I was pregnant. I had this whole thing planned where I was going to do a reveal for Christmas to surprise everyone, I guess. And that didn't happen. So I basically had to go throughout Thanksgiving, smiling and, you know, joking and laughing and just pretending like nothing was wrong. And that was the hardest moment for me because I didn't want to ruin other people's holiday. Like, how do you say, hey, I have a, we were expecting, and now we're just waiting to confirm that the baby is no longer viable. That's not something that you bring up over Thanksgiving dinner. So I actually had to have a procedure, a DNC, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically when your body doesn't miscarry, doesn't recognize that the fetus is not viable, or for some reason it doesn't miscarry on its own. They have to physically go in and remove the pregnancy. So I had to have that December 5th. It killed me. It was so hard. It was The surgery was fine. Everything went without complication, but the emotional aspect is just like, I didn't even give myself time to grieve. I had the DNC on Friday and I went back to work on Monday. I didn't allow myself to feel that same pain that I felt with the first loss. Sorry. So we kept trying, because being parents is something that we really, really wanted. Even though we had losses, and yes, it hurt, the thought of not being able to have a family hurt more than the losses themselves, if that makes any sense. So we kept trying and found out we were pregnant again with this pregnancy April 24th. So I didn't think I was pregnant. I was just like, okay, whatever. When you're trying to conceive, like, you formulate all of these pregnancy symptoms in your mind, like, oh, I think I felt a little bit nauseous, or my boobs are a little bit sore, or something. Like, there's always something. I had the most pregnancy symptoms when I wasn't pregnant than when I was. So I tend to ignore everything in that 2-week wait. So we went in for a blood test on the 24th of April, and we found out we were pregnant. And I was just so excited. I was so happy. But then that fear and that nervousness set in, and didn't go downhill from there, but I was not in like the happiest place. Like, okay, part 1 is done. So now it's like a whole second half where you obsess about the HCG numbers, and you worry about every single symptom that happens to you. Ultimately, like, you just want to know, like, okay, they're fine, they're developing properly, everything is okay, I can breathe. So my milestone was to pass 7 weeks, because that's when I lost my last pregnancy. So passing 7 weeks for me, going into the 8th week, was a big milestone for me. And in this pregnancy, the first trimester was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I started spotting again at that 5-week mark, and immediately got nervous, because in the last 2 of my pregnancies, that's when it started, and of course they didn't have a good outcome. So I was just like, oh God, this is happening again. Why can't I just have a normal pregnancy? So needless to say, I called the doctor. He reassured me again that whatever percent amount of women spot during the first trimester and have a perfectly healthy baby. So I was just praying and asking God to just please keep this child. Please have me keep this child. I didn't want to go through a third loss. Like, who wants to go through a loss, period? But at that point, I was just like, Lord, please don't let this baby die. So, spotting for the entire 5th week of my pregnancy. And at week 6, I remember clear as day, I was at work, and that the brown spotting, sorry, this is TMI, but the brown spotting turned like a burgundy color. Sorry guys, I had to re-record this video because my camera just decided to stop recording. So I believe I was at the point where the brown spotting started turning burgundy at work at around the 6th week mark. And I just wanted to monitor it. So I basically was like, okay, I'm going to go, trying not to freak out. I'm going to go to the restroom again in an hour to see where, what color it is, or if it's heavier or whatever. So I decided to do that. I waited an hour, and it went from the brown earlier in the day to the burgundy intermediate color, and an hour later it literally turned bright red. So of course immediately I called my doctor, and they instructed me to come in right away. And unfortunately I think I was a bit too far, so travel wise, so I think that happened at around 4 or 4:30. They closed at 6. By the time I would get there from where I worked, it would have been well past 6 o'clock. So I told them that, and they instructed me to come in right when they opened at 10 in the morning the next day. And so I just left work. I could not focus. Obviously, I couldn't focus. And I just told my supervisor I need to go home. They were so good about it. They were like, okay, go home, take care of you. At that point, nobody knew what was going on anyway. So I came home, and I was just praying. And as I was coming home, I live on Staten Island. So on the ferry ride over, I was literally clotting, and sorry for the TMI, but the blood was coming down very heavy. I was pregnant, so I didn't have anything on me. I think the heaviest thing I had was a panty liner, and I had to go to the bathroom and just stuff myself. Like, it was horrible. And that whole ferry ride home, I just remember bawling and crying, because this is exactly how it happened with my last pregnancy. I just felt a gush of whatever, blood at the time, in my last pregnancy, right by the ferry. I had to make a U-turn, use the restroom, and lo and behold, there was nothing but blood everywhere. And it was that scenario was replaying in my mind. So I basically was just like, I lost this baby. So the next day I went to the doctor's office, and he did an ultrasound, and he wasn't really saying much, and I wasn't expecting to see a heartbeat. Technically, the heart starts beating at around week 6, but I was exactly 6 weeks, so I wasn't expecting to see a heartbeat right then and there. I just wanted to see the I don't even know what you call it, like the that black hole I'll just insert a picture, but I wanted to see that to know, okay, there's something there. So the doctor was like, okay, the baby looks fine, and then he goes, and in my mind I was like, oh my gosh, he spoke too soon. He said the baby was fine, and then now he sees something else. He wasn't really saying much, and a few seconds passed, and those seconds felt like hours, and he finally was like, there's another one in there. And I was like, what? And apparently twins run in my family, and I didn't know that until I got pregnant. I knew they ran in my husband's side of the family, but I did not know they ran on my side of the family as well. So he said, there's another one in there. And I was like, oh, okay. And he basically told me like the statistics with twins, and how women can start off with twins and then end up with singleton pregnancies. And it was a lot for me to take in. I was happy that things looked okay, but then I was sad because there was some blood over one of the twins. So one of them was perfectly fine. The other one, and it was like a gray overcast. I'll insert a picture so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And there was like this gray overcast, and he was basically saying, my doctor was saying, like, I wouldn't even tell anyone you're pregnant with twins at this point. Or, if you haven't told anybody you're pregnant, I wouldn't go ahead and share that news yet, because there's a possibility that one or both of them can still end up in a miscarriage. So it was bittersweet. We had weekly scans after that just to make sure that things were progressing properly, and at the 7th week mark, both of them were still there. Like every ultrasound I went to, the first thing I was like, are they both still there? Is one there? And like, I don't, if you've never had an ultrasound before, it's just like you can move the probe one way and you'll see only one baby, and you'll move the probe another way, you might see both or just the other one. So it's very weird. And when the probe went in, it was just like I would only see one, and I would immediately say, is the other one still there? Is the other one okay? And the other one was still there, and they were okay. My doctor said I had a blood clot in my uterus, so that's what was causing the spotting. And he said it might have gotten a little aggravated, and that's what caused the bleeding. That didn't relieve my nerves completely. I was like, okay, the spotting is fine, the spotting is normal, the spotting is, in this case, okay, because it's extra blood in my uterus that needs to get out. So I was spotting from that 5th week up until, I want to say, my 10th or 11th week. So I was spotting for a long time. And every time I thought it would taper down, it went back. So it's just like, okay, when is this going to end? At around the 10th week, the spotting finally subsided. The bleeding had subsided to the brown spotting maybe a week or two after that incident that I just told you about. So I was spotting for quite a while. And then I remember for my goddaughter's birthday, I wanted to bake her a princess cake. Like, I love all of the, DIY stuff and artsy stuff and food, and hence why I created my channel, why I created my YouTube channel. So I saw this really cool Elsa doll cake on how to cook that on YouTube, and I was like, I have to make it. So I woke up super early that morning, and to be honest, I wasn't really taking care of myself the way I should. I wasn't eating as regularly, and I wasn't drinking as much because I was into my project. So toward the end of the project, I started feeling a little funny, and I was like, okay, I think I have to just hydrate myself and take care of myself. So after I drank some water, I felt like I needed to use the bathroom, and I went to use the bathroom, and again, TMI, but I passed the biggest clot. It was literally like the size of my fist. I'm not even exaggerating. It was literally the size of my fist. And I started bleeding bright red, and it was coming down pretty consistently and pretty heavily. The best way I can describe it is like if you turn on your faucet and you let the water drip, it was coming down like drip, 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 drip. So it was coming down pretty consistently. So at that point, I called my husband in. He saw what was going on, and he was like, we need to go straight to the hospital. So me being the stubborn person that I am, I said, okay, I will put on a pad. I will, wash my hands, get everything ready. I literally finished the cake and the cupcakes, brought it to their house, told them that I couldn't stay. I had to go to the hospital. Okay. So we got to the hospital, and we waited a few hours, and basically I was waiting for the ultrasound, like I said. So when we finally got into the ultrasound room, the tech had the screen facing toward her. I was laying down, and my husband was there with me, and he was standing kind of next to me, but a little further back so he can see the screen. And I asked the tech, I was like, can you tell me anything that's going on? Can you tell me if the babies are okay? Can you tell me if there's a heartbeat at least? And she said, I'm sorry, I can't disclose that to you. You have to wait until the doctor discusses it with you. So that was a little bit frustrating. As a mom that's going through something like that, you just want to make sure that your babies are okay. That's like your number one priority. So my husband was kind of looking at the screen, and he was giving me like the head nod, like, yes, everything is okay. And I was being reassured that way. And then I kind of peeked up and looked at the screen, and I saw that she was doing the heartbeat, and I just saw a flat line like that. And I kind of freaked out, because usually you'll see like the heartbeat and it'll be almost like a EKG, where it's like it goes like that. And so immediately I just froze. I freaked out. I was like, oh my goodness, my baby's, or at least one of them, is not okay. And I would look at my husband and he'd give me the head nod, but then I remember what I saw on the screen, and I don't know if he was protecting me, like everything is okay, and he didn't want me to break down right then and there, or if everything was truly okay. So I wanted to trust him, but then I was like, I know what I saw. I guess it was like a new machine where it kind of goes this way. After that ultrasound, I've had other ultrasounds where it's like that, and then they kind of measure two spots, and that's how they determine the heart rate. So I wasn't seeing like a flat line. It was just how the screen, that technology was. So anyway, at the end of everything, the doctor came in and told me that everything looked fine, that the babies, both of them, were measuring on track, that they have really great heart rates, that everything was okay. And they actually didn't diagnose me with a subchorionic hemorrhage like my doctor did at that 6-week mark. They said they couldn't find the source of the bleeding. They have no clue why I'm bleeding, and they don't know for how long I will be bleeding. Without me leaning on God, and without the faith that I had, I would have just completely lost it. I literally would have just gone insane, because it's just like, what's going to happen? What's going to do? Like, I just don't know what's going to happen. And yes, it's scary. And yes, it's painful. But because of my husband, because of my faith, I just kept holding on to that hope that they were going to be okay. So that was basically my entire first trimester. Bleeding and more bleeding and more bleeding, and the uncertainty and the not knowing what was going to happen to them. And I didn't want to document that and put it online and have to go and explain what happened if something did happen to them. I didn't want to relive that scenario in that kind of way, like having a loss and then having to talk about the loss. It's very, very difficult. Even though I am pregnant with these two babies, and I'm so, so grateful. I'm so, so happy. I love them so, so much. I do still get sad when I think about my previous two pregnancies. It is kind of hard when you look back at it, just because you're pregnant again doesn't erase the feelings that you had with your last pregnancies. At least for me, it doesn't. But in between the bleeding and everything, there were other things that were concerning. Like, I lost a lot of weight, and I wasn't a chubby girl, or I wasn't that skinny to begin with. But I did lose 8 pounds in my first trimester. Everybody says it's normal, but it's been a struggle for me to gain that weight back. Currently, I am 24 weeks, and I weigh, I believe, 5 pounds since I lost the 8 pounds. So technically I'm still -3. Yeah, it's very, very hard for me to gain weight with this pregnancy. And that's something my doctor was concerned about, because, the babies need nutrients. I need nutrients. And, I'm not eating for 1 or 2. I'm eating for 3. So it's just like, you need to gain weight. You need to sustain them in some sort of way. And honestly, as long as they're growing and they're healthy, I don't have a problem with if I gain too much, too little, whatever. Just as long as they're okay and I'm okay, we're good. Severe nausea, severe food aversions. I had to be prescribed some medication to actually eat. It was a very, very, very hard first trimester, even spilling into the second trimester. it was just not fun. So this is why I didn't document it. I barely take pictures even. The little pictures that you see on social media are the pictures that I have, literally. It's hard for me to still believe that this is it for me. Like, we've passed so many stages and so many milestones and so many different things that happen. It's still kind of like hard to believe that you're gonna have a baby. Like, even some of the things my mom bought, she's so excited. She bought them some stuff, and I think I bought them an outfit, each one for each, about 2 weeks ago. So it's not like I immediately went out after my 12th week and started buying stuff for them. Like, they barely have anything at this point because I was so nervous for this pregnancy. I don't want this video to be super, super long, but that's just, in a nutshell, why I haven't posted pregnancy updates or even DIYs. I haven't had the motivation. I haven't had the will to do it. It takes a lot out of me to film and to be creative when my mind is just in a completely different place. So hopefully you guys understand my lack of posting over the last few months. So I definitely want to improve that. Let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see. I don't want this to be just like a mommy channel, because this is a DIY channel, but I do want to share some personal things with you guys. So of course I'm going to share some things about my pregnancy. I'm not sure if going forward I'm going to do 2-week updates or weekly updates or what have you. There are some other things that I went through during this pregnancy that are pregnancy related, that are normal for some women, and it seems like I got every symptom in the book. If you want to know more about that, those are typically things that women don't talk about during pregnancy. Let me know if you want to see a video like that, and I'll gladly record it and let you know what worked for me or what is working for me. Any other DIYs you'd like to see. So just comment below, let me know what you want to see. Like this video if you found it remotely helpful, or if you found it informative in any kind of way. If you want to see more videos, I'll do like hauls, like baby hauls or maternity hauls that I have, not necessarily just clothing, but products that I've bought to help me with those other pregnancy things that people don't tell you about. Well, I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it helpful. Thumbs up if you did. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see on this channel. And I hope you have a great day. Bye, guys. Well, sorry about that, guys. I actually forgot to do a belly shot. So I guess I will end the video with a belly shot. Again, let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see in my next video, whether it be mommy related or DIY related. And I guess I'll just show you my belly now. This is my belly from the front. Again, I'm about 24 weeks with twin boys. They're fraternal, by the way. They're not identical. Here it is from the side. And on the other side, I feel huge. A lot of people say that I still look small. I definitely don't feel small at all. I feel big, but I'm happy that they're healthy. I actually had an appointment on Thursday a few days ago, and one twin A weighs 1 pound and 3 ounces, and twin B weighs 1 pound and 4 ounces. So they're pretty much on the same level, but everything is good with them. They're right on track, and I couldn't be happier. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.